Malala Yousafzai is the world's most famous schoolgirl.
I dream for all the children that they should go to their school because it's their right, it's their basic right.
She became a hero to millions because she dared to stand up to some of the most violent and repressive men, the Taliban. When the Taliban tried to stop girls being educated, most people were too scared to send their children to school. But Malala insisted on going and was brave enough to campaign publicly. Her courage in speaking out began to get noticed around the world, but it also made her a target for the Taliban.
Two men approach a Pakistani school bus like this one, men with beards and a gun, a Colt 45. One of them climbs on the bus and asks a question. Who is Malala? She doesn't remember what happened next, but her friend described the moment.
He fired three bullets, and one hit you on the left side of my head. I would have been doing like this. So I hide my face because there was gunpowder on my fingers.
She is bleeding, in grave condition, but 2 hours pass before a helicopter can deliver her from the local hospital to a military surgeon. He spends 5 hours trying to relieve the swelling on her brain and remove tiny clots. By a strange coincidence, there is someone in Pakistan for the first time. A top specialist in pediatric trauma from England, Dr. Fiona Reynolds, with her colleague, Dr. Javeed Kayani. They've been sitting in long governmental meetings on medical programs when suddenly Dr. Reynolds is told to race out and try to save the life of a famous and dying child. The tubes have given Malala an infection. The machines are improperly set, her blood isn't clotting, her lungs and kidneys are beginning to fail.
She had become septic. It was obvious that she had a very serious life-threatening infection.
Dr. Reynolds makes a risky recommendation: to take the gravely ill girl on an 8-hour trip to a high-tech hospital in England. From another Muslim country comes a life-giving offer. The Emir of the United Arab Emirates sends one of his royal planes outfitted as a hospital, a state-of-the-art intensive care unit. And for the entire 8-hour flight to England, Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Kayani keep Malala alive breath by breath, organ by organ. And they also have noticed something else that defies possibility. The bullet took a path that simply cannot be believed.
The chances of being shot at point-blank range in the head and that happening, I don't know. But it is amazing, truly amazing. I don't know why she survived.
Maybe his hand was shaky.
He hit her there.
So it goes under the skin, near the skull? A bullet traveling 1,000 feet per second slips under Malala's skin. But as it heads toward her brain, that bone turns out to be so strong and curved, it forces the bullet to ricochet away, and instead smashes her eardrum, severs the nerve in her face, and hits her shoulder.
The fact that she didn't die on the spot or very soon afterwards, and to my mind, is nothing short of miraculous.
Miracle?
If you believe in miracles, yes, absolutely.
Maybe it's the backbone and here's the brain, and God saved me.
But still, doctors have no idea if she'll ever walk, or see, or be able to speak again. They are amazed when moments after her eyes open, she uses a letterboard to spell out in English the words country, and then father. Ahead of her, 3 months of punishing therapy and more surgery to reconnect the nerve in her face. Through it all, Dr. Reynolds notes of her young patient.
I have never seen Malala cry, never. She's incredibly stoical. She had to have some sutures in her wound in her scalp, and she also had to have a needle to drain some infected fluid from her neck. And on both occasions, she didn't wince, she didn't cry, she didn't even squeeze my hand when they were sticking needles into her.
I didn't cry because now I totally changed after that incident. But I don't know how did I change. I don't know what happened to me.
But I have to say, who can do this? We all cry.
I was feeling that this is a new life.
Malala says she thinks death just wasn't ready for her.
I think death didn't want to kill me, and God was with me, and the people prayed for me. Malala Day. is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. There are hundreds of human rights activists and social workers who are not only speaking for their rights, but who are struggling to achieve their goal of peace, education, and equality. Thousands of people have been killed by the terrorists, and millions have been injured. I'm just one of them. So here I stand. One girl among many. I speak not for myself, but for those without voice can be heard. Those who have fought for their rights. Their right to live in peace. Their right to be treated with dignity. Their right to equality of opportunity. Their right to be educated. Dear friends, on the 9th of October 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullet would silence us, but they failed. And out of that silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought that they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born.
Ladies and gentlemen, Malala is fighting for something very important. Education is not only vital for individual children, but also for society as a whole.
The Millennium Goals were signed by 189 governments at the turn of the millennium. Now, in 2013, 13 years later, still 57 million children, and amongst them 32 million girls, have no access to any form of education. We have 2 more years left to 2015 to keep the historical promise we made in the year 2000. And it is possible to keep this promise. It all has to do with political will and courage.
When did you realize the Taliban had made you a target?
When in 2012, I was with my father and someone came and she told us that, have you seen on Google that if you search your name and the Taliban have threatened you? And I just could not believe it. I said, no, it's not true. And even after the threat, when we saw it, I was not worried about myself that much. I was worried about my father because we thought that the Taliban are not that much cruel that they would kill a child, because I was 14 at that time. But then later on, I started thinking about that, and I used to think that the Talib would come and he would just kill me. But then I said, if he comes, what would you do, Malala? Then I would reply myself that, Malala, just take a shoe and hit him. But then I said, if you hit a Talib with your shoe, then there would be no difference between you and that Talib. You must not treat others that much with cruelty and that much harshly. You must fight others, but through peace and through dialogue and through education. Then I said, I'll tell him how important education is and that I even want education for your children as well. And I'll tell him, that's what I want to tell you. Now do what you want.
Is love, sweet love, it's the only thing that there's His love, sweet love, no, not just for some, but for every. No, not just for some, but for every.